Know Your Value will host our fourth annual 3050 Summit in Abu Dhabi, and it is shaping up to be our most impactful event yet. The summit, which will take place March 5th through the 8th on and around International Women's Day, brings together generations of the most influential leaders and innovators for unprecedented networking and mentorship in intergenerational, cross-cultural ways. So many opportunities are had and doors are opened at this event. With us for some special speaker announcements, we have, of course, the vice chair of the 3050 Summit, Huma Abedin, and the editor of Forbes Women, Maggie McGrath. So, Huma, we'll start with you. One woman who we will be hearing from is an incredibly talented actress who's dedicated her life to uplifting women and girls, and she will actually be playing you in an upcoming TV series. Who is she?
Well, that incredibly talented actress and activist is Freida Pinto.
I think beautiful.
And beautiful. Agreed. I think the world remembered her when she burst on stage with Slumdog Millionaire. Since then, she's appeared in films like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Desert Dancer, Hillbilly Elegy, Mr. Malcolm's List, My Mother's Wedding. To each of those roles, she brings a combination of vulnerability, strength, and authenticity. She promised last year she would come, and she had filming to do, and she's keeping that promise, coming this year. As a founder of her production company called Freebird Films, she is using that platform to lift up the stories of other women. And as you mentioned, I am thrilled to be working on this next and honored to be working on this Netflix series with her. And as an activist, she uses her voice and her platform to talk about the importance of girls' education worldwide, lifting up the story of these 60 million girls around the world who are not educated, and explaining to them through these letters that she writes through her work with Girl Rising, this organization, this movement that's dedicated to girls' education. She also is a co-founder of a platform called Rookie Wellness and Anya, which is focused on postpartum care for women, something that in America we don't talk about very often, with women and a need for that nourishing phase of their life. Freida Pinto is a woman who knows her value and uses all these different platforms to lift up the value of girls around the world, and we will ask her about that on stage in Abu Dhabi.
I love it, Maggie. We're going to be hearing from women athletes who know everything about breaking barriers. Sneak peek for us.
And also overcoming significant odds. Yusra Mardini is an Olympic swimmer, but also a Syrian refugee who fled war in her country in 2015. But not only that, she saved the lives of fellow refugees by swimming them to safety. She was just 17 years old when that happened. And, you know, before escaping from the war, she had been training with the Syrian Olympic Committee in order to compete in the Olympic Games. In 2016, that dream became a reality. She made history by joining the first ever Olympic refugee team. She competed again in 2020. She was the flag bearer that year. In 2017, Yusra made history out of the pool by becoming the youngest ever Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. She is an outspoken advocate for refugee rights around the world, but she has kept her home country very close to heart the whole time. And I think that's one of the reasons we are so fortunate to have her joining us in this particular year. We will be speaking to her on stage 3 months after the Assad regime was toppled. And she has said that she has so much hope for the Syrian people. She's praying for a chance to rebuild the country. And I think there's no better person to talk to about resilience and hope, two things we can never have too much of.
Absolutely. Huma, also taking to our stage, is a woman who's no stranger to covering conflict, humanitarian crises, and women's issues around the world. Tell us who she is.
We have award-winning photojournalist Lynsey Addario, who has covered conflict, humanitarian crises for the last 25 years on behalf of the New York Times and National Geographic. She has been everywhere from Afghanistan to Iraq to Libya, Lebanon, Darfur, South Sudan, Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Yemen, Syria, and has been covering the ongoing war in Ukraine. She has been named one of the 5 most influential photographers of the past 25 years because the argument is that she changes the way we see the world's conflicts. And you're seeing it in these images on your screen. She takes you through the front lines of the conflict, but showing how the impact is on families, on communities, societies. In her third year in Ukraine, she covered these stunning images of children who are dealing with life-threatening illnesses and the impact that the Russian invasion of Ukraine was having on these families being able to get health care. In Syria, right after the fall of Assad, she was there on the ground covering the images of these mothers who went to go look for their sons who'd been missing. There are 100,000 men who are missing in Syria, and takes these human lives and shows how important it is and the impact it is to have on these women, risking her life, balancing work and family. And she's going to talk about that on stage. Thrilled to have Lynsey.
Amazing. Maggie, obviously gender equality is a huge topic at our summit, and it's hard to have that discussion without actually talking to our male allies, of which there are many. So who will be joining us on this front?
I'm so pleased to say that Alexis Ohanian, the co-founder of Reddit and also 776 Ventures, an early-stage venture capital firm with nearly $1 billion in assets under management, will be joining us. But he does not just fund underrepresented entrepreneurs. He has been instrumental in making strategic investments in women's sports. He was a founding owner in Angel City FC and has really added to the momentum of this moment for women in sports. And he says, yes, I'm a girl dad. Yes, I'm married to the GOAT, Serena Williams, but he looks at his work through a capitalistic lens. He says that women's sports have been an undervalued asset, and there's real money to be made by investing in it. There's real money to be made by investing in underrepresented founders. And I would just say that in a moment when one of his peers in Silicon Valley is talking about adding more masculine energy to industries already dominated by men, Alexis offers an important and refreshing counterpoint.
So we also have we're going to be announcing more speakers in the weeks to come. There are a few we can't tell you about yet. Huma Abedin, Maggie McGrath, thank you both. Great job. We're going to have more exciting 30-50 speaker announcements in the weeks to come. As I said, we would love for you all to join us at the 30-50 Summit. You can get all the details at knowyourvalue.com and Forbes.com. The countdown